Quite a bit has changed in the past 157 years since George Ison visited this area of the Wichita Mountains and staked his claim for future mining operations. His son Silas Lee Ison was born in Estherville, Virginia on February 6, 1870. Silas would go on to be the last Wichita Mountain prospector. George staked an 80-acre claim in this vicinity in 1866 after his release from the Confederate Army. He sought the storied treasure that was stated to be buried in the Wichitas by the Spaniards in years earlier.
Imagine this place in 1866. There were outlaws running rampant. There were Indian camps all around. Quanah Parker was still in Palo Duro Canyon with his band of Coahuiltes. The Battle of Palo Duro Canyon hadn't even taken place yet. The settlement of Lawton didn't exist. Even Fort Sill was still 3 years away from being staked out. This was the epitome of the Wild West. Now, on his first trip here to the Wichitas, he was riding his horse and taking his pack mule up into the mountains, and he happened to glance back, and he noticed that there was a pack of Indians slowly catching up to him. Now, he rode his horse deeper into the mountains, looking for a place to hide his horse and his pack mule. And he finally found a group of boulders, and he was able to hide his animals. He readied his rifle, got it sighted in, and waited. He could hear the pack of Indians slowly trotting by on their horses. So he took his rifle, he got down in the brush, and kind of snaked himself closer to where he could get a view of where they were at. Now, as he got near the edge of the canyon, he noticed that there was a miner off in the distance, swinging away with his axe, looking for gold. Unbeknownst to him, the Indians were bearing down on him. Now, almost immediately, the pack of Indians swarmed down in the valley upon the miner. He was quickly attacked, killed, and they took everything that they could carry away on their horses. Now, despite all this that was going on, a few days later, George Ison staked his claim in this area.
George Ison returned a year later, and upon speaking with military officials, they asked him if he had enough ammo because of the large Indian camps that were all around. One particular band that lived near his claim was known as the Pueblo Gang, named after their chief, Pueblo. This group took a liking to George and stopped by to chat and trade with him often. Stories circulated through the years that stated various miners would pay the Indians to stay away from them. Same with Jesse James and other outlaws that would pass through the Wichitas.
So Jesse and Frank James were known to stop by and talk to George from time to time. Now, he did have a brush-in with them on accident on his claim. They were riding through. The exchange went something like, "Hey, what are you doing way out here?" And they said, "Well, I'm looking for gold." And one of the members of the James Junker gang said, "Well, so are we." But of course, you know, they're talking about a different kind, acquired illegally. But anyway, from time to time, Jesse and Frank would ride through and they would hide their loot in various places along the claim. They wouldn't say where, and they would even pay George essentially for silence, I guess. It's not like he really had a choice, right? In Frank's later days, he would come out here in search of some of the loot that was left out here. So he'd stop by and talk to George and ask about certain landmarks and stuff. He was under the impression that he left quite a bit of loot out here buried in the Wichita Mountains.
George and his son Silas moved permanently to this area in 1901 as the Wichita Mountains Forest Reserve was being established. Before arriving in the Wichitas, the first stop for them was just east of here in Duncan, as that was as far as the railroad went at that time.
When they arrived here back at their claim, they camped in a tent. Now, they did quickly build a cabin, but unfortunately it burned down right away.
Silas was married to Dove Murray, who was the sister of the 9th governor of Oklahoma, William Murray. They resided here with their children.
Now, at one time, there was a log cabin, cobblestone cabin, and a wire fence surrounding all of it with a gate as well. Now, you can still make out some of the foundation blocks that are remaining from the cobblestone cabin that stood right here. Now, the cobblestone cabin has been gone for roughly 50 years. Immediately after that, the log cabin was also bulldozed. Roger Johnson, who was the refuge manager at the time, stated that they dug a deep hole and that all of the remnants and pieces from the cabin were just dumped into that hole. But you can still see a little bit of what was once Ison's cobblestone cabin.
In these pictures here, you can see log cabins, and they do appear to be different. I've talked to several people, including author Steve Wilson of Oklahoma Treasure Tales, and he stated one log cabin was close to the cobblestone cabin. The location of where this dugout stood still remains a mystery. Over the years, their mining operations brought them some gold, silver, copper, and tin, but never in really large amounts.
Now, I'm not sure which one this is, but I do know they had 4 main mines out here. The Old Maid, the Half Moon, Mennonite, and the Atlas. Here's another one of the 13 mines that they sunk out here in this region, about a mile from where the cabins were located at. Now, this thing's bone dry right now, but after a couple of inches of rain, this thing really gets going to the point where it's impassable. So if you do come out here to check this out, watch the weather. You don't want to get caught in a flash flood out here. So in addition to the cabins and the 13 mines, possibly more, they also constructed this rock wall that you see here. Now, some people have called it a corral, some people have called it a walkway. It's pretty cool that after all this time, this wall is still here. So if you look at the top of that cascade, you'll see a cobblestone dam. That was hand built by George and Silas Ison as well. I had come out here several times, even after rainfall, expecting to see something, and I never did. So I had convinced myself that you'd never see water come through here again, or it would take some type of aerial flood event. And that's not the case. There was only about an inch of rain 3 days ago, and this is the flow. So once again, it's incredible that this is still standing. I'm also wondering if there was another level that maybe has washed out, because you can see the top. You get the same thing down here. I'm willing to bet that once upon a time, there was a section going across here. Now, where that brick wall is right there, that's where the zircon mine was at. So this canyon here has been named Ison's Canyon due to the numerous mines that are here that they used to work.
After the mining died out, remaining prospectors within the boundaries of the refuge were expelled. Silas and George would not leave due to the fact that they had done everything right in the process of getting their claim. They constantly fought the government to remain on the land. George passed in 1933. Silas continued to mine the area and fight the government. And finally, in 1942, he was told by the courts that he could stay on his claim, which was completely within the boundaries of the refuge.
So there's a lot of stuff here that was used for mining. A lot of really old pieces, some more modern pieces as well. But a lot of these bricks date back about 100 years ago. Now here's something that I find very interesting. Cobblestone right here. The bottom of this cobblestone matches the foundation of Ison's Cobblestone Canyon that was bulldozed. Definitely was a cobblestone structure. Now, I do not believe it is Ison's cobblestone cabin, because that was quite a ways from here. So I don't know what this could have been. Definitely a lot of debris back here, though. Interesting. Very interesting. This whole area is just loaded with debris. Got metal pipes, chairs over there. It's pretty grown up. I mean, there's a lot of vegetation over here, but this is pretty crazy.
Roger Johnson, who was the refuge manager at the time, decided the best course of action would be to bulldoze the cobblestone cabin because it was becoming a hideout for partying, major vandalizing was taking place, and it was essentially becoming an eyesore. The log cabin, that was just being used for storage at that time, was left up a little bit longer, but it was finally bulldozed as well.
Now, the best time to come here is definitely during the winter time when most of the vegetation is dormant. You can walk around and see quite a bit of stuff. I wonder if maybe this was either the location of the smelter or if this is the big hole that they dug and buried the cobblestone cabin in. Really don't know. It's a big guessing game at this point. There's the well. It's just hard to fathom that those rocks right there were put in place by George and Silas Ison. And they're still here. There's a few more mining relics out here. You'll find pieces of metal and bricks and stuff just scattered all over out here in the Wichitas. This mine here is probably the closest to where the cabins existed. So maybe one of their first ones, I don't know, but regardless, this one is real close to the cabin area. Silas Lee Ison died on April 1st, 1972. He's buried here in Indiahoma.
In the serene expanse of the Wichita Mountains, nestled amidst rugged terrain, resided the last true gold miner, a weathered soul named Silas. With his trusty pickaxe and other tools, and his seasoned intuition, he traversed the familiar paths, seeking remnants of a bygone era. Silas's true wealth was not in the minerals he extracted, but in the tranquil embrace of nature and the memories of days spent in pursuit of fortune. In the twilight of his years, he found solace in the simple joys of life, his heart rich with the treasures of a life well lived amidst the timeless beauty of the Wichita Mountains.